Okay, so I'm going to go into a review for the people who may be using this tape for educational purposes. Now, I've had films played before for classrooms and other types of audiences, and so I know there's something there that people are getting from the work that I put out. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into it. All right. Now I'm going to start with the concept of beat gang stalking. The first stage of gang stalking is the confusion stage. This is when an individual knows nothing about gang stalking 9 times out of 10, and they're very confused. This often leads to violent behavior. It can lead to an individual who is being targeted, and in the confusion stage, they can actually take a gun and go out and kill somebody. They may commit suicide. They may end up on drugs. It can cause financial disaster. The higher somebody is up in the job world, the more career-oriented they are, the more they have to lose. So they can lose their job. They can basically just lose everything, their family. It's happened to many people. There's a lot of professionals out there who have just lost everything. And so gang stalking affects everybody. And now getting out of the confusion stage, you go into the distraction stage. So you can beat the confusion stage. Gang stalking is real. You beat the confusion stage, then you go into the distraction stage, which there is always going to be some form of distraction coming at you. It can be people group stalking you on the street. It can be people at your job. It can be your neighbors. It can be your friends. It can be your peers. It can be your family. You can be covertly drugged. That's happened to me on numerous occasions. You can have electronic weapons used against you. That's happened to me on numerous occasions. So I'm well aware of what the distraction stage is all about. So this is how I've set up an ability for people who go through it on an everyday basis to get through it and to beat it. Now, instead of fearing the individuals who are doing the assignments on you, which for most people there's reason to be fearful, you want to learn to integrate that, right? And this is on the street. You're not dealing with the people who are doing this stuff behind some nice comfortable desk somewhere, who are issuing out money for people to stalk you. You're dealing with individuals in the real world on the street. Okay. Again, the distraction stage of gang stalking is the second stage. This is where an individual is fully aware they are targeted. You've learned enough to know how to get through it. So you've decided in your mind that you're being gang stalked. You might have gone on YouTube and seen videos of other people being group stalked by color coding, other people having the mimic effect, other people having street theater. You may have heard of accounts of other people having electronic weapons used against them, other people being covertly drugged. There's a lot of different things that are common through the theme of gang stalking, and these are Rotarian in nature. They're universal. I can meet somebody from China who's going through gang stalking, and we will both agree on the same stuff. There's not going to be much of a difference. We're both going to be experiencing the same stuff. That person's going to be from an Eastern philosophy, a totally different culture. There's going to be no reason why we should have this much in common, but we do because we're both being gang stalked. That's the interesting thing about gang stalking. In some ways, it unites people who live on opposite sides of the world. Okay, the distraction stage is just how it sounds. You get group stalked by strangers, neighbors, friends, even family members, co-workers, etc. It is a constant 24/7, every single day. Individuals going through this are often covertly drugged and have been severely attacked with electronic weapons. You leave your house and go out into the world in a very distracted state. At least that's the intention. That's completely accurate. There's been times where I've had my food covertly drugged, and I would wake up drugged with electronic weapons used against me. having been stalked the whole day before that, and the day before that, and the day before that. Waking up with people arranging noises, slamming doors, car alarms, being gang stalked in my sleep, right? And I go out into the world, and the vibration that puts you in is a very distracted state. Anybody who goes through gang stalking for more than a week is going to be a very disgruntled individual. And that's exactly the intention of it. So you don't have a fair start in the day. While everybody else got to have a normal life and go out and eat and relax and go to sleep and do what they wanted to do, you don't have a fair start. You've already been attacked by multiple different people in multiple different ways. That's the reality of a person who goes through gang stalking. And it's 10 times worse than most people think it is. Okay, again, I began going through intense gang stalking in the summer of 2015. I just did not know what it was at that time. That's very accurate. When I first started experiencing my gang stalking, I didn't know what gang stalking was. I had no clue in the world what gang stalking was. I had to learn the hard way what was happening to me. It took me a long time to even identify I was having assignments done on me. It was very light when it first started. Very light. It was so light, I knew something strange was going on, but I didn't know it. I didn't know it was gang stalking. And then there was a period, for many different reasons, that it jumped. And so the gang stalking gets you slowly acclimated to it. You know, they don't just jump into you being gang stalked. They don't just make it real intense at first. There's a slow acclimation to it to try to get you sensitized to it. And individuals are constantly plotting on your harassment. That's the thing about gang stalking. While you're asleep, there are grown adults wide awake, exchanging money, talking to each other, thinking about how they're going to be able to stalk you better the next day. So the confusion stage was the first stage I entered. I just didn't know what gang stalking was. Moving on. In the early summer of 2016, I started my courses to help people beat gang stalking. That's completely accurate. There's a lot of people out there who are in desperate situations. Throughout my life, I've been through a lot of things other than gang stalking. So it kind of, my life has kind of prepared me for the experience of gang stalking. And I realized quickly that other people take it much more hardly. This affects other people in more severe ways. And so when I realized that, hey, I can go out into the world and interact with the perpetrators, I started waving at the cars who were gang stalking me. They were doing it full time with the bright lights on. I started finding a way to network through it, this 24/7 operation. And I came into a mindset of the other individuals who are going through this will be beneficial for them to be able to get something out of how I've been able to get through it, so they can learn from my experience. And so I started connecting with the people who were going through gang stalking, and I started getting interviews. One human rights group contacted me and interviewed me. People in various places of the world identified with my story. They knew they were going through gang stalking and they needed help. And so that was the whole concept of my courses, and I'm still doing them right now. I'm setting up even better ones. There were many success stories. I interviewed between 20 to 30 people, at least 20 to 30 people. It's probably a lot more than that. But these were interviews that I set up over the phone. I recorded different sorts of people. There's some people who go through gang stalking much more severely than others. There's people who've gone through it long term. And so one individual I was proud of, I know they were near suicide. They would never leave their house. They were terrified of the world. And it was somebody who contacted me the first time, and I was able to coach them into a position to where they felt comfortable leaving their house and going out into the world. everybody around them, from their family to the doctors, didn't believe anything they were saying, and were basically trying to ruin this individual's life. And for a while there, it looked like they might have been successful. They got a grip on what gang stalking was. We would talk for hours every day. They started approaching the people who were gang stalking them and telling them what gang stalking was, and started using my tactics very assertively, and it worked. Matter of fact, today the same person doesn't even go through gang stalking anymore. It stopped altogether. So looking back, I feel very proud of my courses, that I was able to help people in various ways. So that's what it was all about. Yeah, very few people go through organized harassment, especially at high levels. They have anywhere to turn. That's the reality of it. A lot of people look at people who go through gang stalking and they don't understand it. And so a lot of times people mock it or they ignore it. But these individuals don't really have anywhere to turn. And for the people who would help them, that they would go to, those people really can't do anything for them. Oftentimes, they may even get gang stalked themselves. A lot of times, they're terrified to get involved with it. They might not get gang stalked for helping the people. That's some scenarios they might, but there's a lot of people, they could help if they wanted to, but for whatever reason, they don't think outside the box. They don't want to get involved. That's just the way the world is, I guess. But then again, I've had help. There's been people who've explained to me, who were involved in doing assignments on me, who helped me. So to a little bit, you do get some, I guess. All right. Okay, this is a film of me walking down the street. A lot of times when people come online and they're going to hear me talking about gang stalking, they're going to see me sitting in a chair talking to a monitor. About 90% of the work I did on my beat gang stalking stuff was in the street. I went to high-class neighborhoods and talked to people about gang stalking, told them what it was, gave them my information, told them who I was, let them know they can contact me when need be. I would go into restaurants, give restaurants information, tell them about how I had been covertly drugged in the past. I would go into poor neighborhoods. I would go into neighborhoods that were I would go into the projects. I would go into various neighborhoods in the ghetto. Sometimes I've been in these places at 3 in the morning, not there for any other purpose but to talk about gang stalking. I never had any fear with it. That's one thing about gang stalking. If you allow another man or another woman to put some sort of fear over you, then you've already defeated yourself. And that's one of the biggest messages I want to bring to people who want to learn about gang stalking and who aren't going through it, or the people who are being gang stalked, is fear is the common denominator. In my mind, no individual sitting behind a desk somewhere is going to put a fear over me. I just don't live like that. So I go out here in the streets and interact with these people 24/7. And it was very interesting. I met a lot of different people, and it was very interesting. This is just me walking down the street. Here's a flyer. These are simple. These were just flyers I typed up. These were simple flyers I typed up at a library. This was in January of 2017. And there's a very interesting story about that, about January of 2017 and what was going on with me then. But anyhow, so I'm out and I'm passing out this information. I'm talking to the different people. Sometimes I'll come across people that I've been knowing for years who I didn't know, they were still around. and they would see me. We would talk about gang stalking. I met an uncle. I got an uncle, a blood relative that I hadn't seen in 10, 15 years, about 15 years. And for some reason, he was doing an assignment. And I saw him, and I was like, wow, man, I couldn't believe it. So the gang stalking stuff has actually brought me together with different sorts of people. Before I even get to an area, the people are already ready to do the assignments. Money's exchanged hands. Individuals have decided for whatever reason to set up a group stalking campaign against me. And so when I enter a new area, sometimes it's like Christmas. You see people you haven't seen in a long time, yada yada. But overall, it's just constant, repetitive stalking, group stalking, assignments. These individuals are asked to do assignments. So these individuals, they're not 9 times out of 10, they're not going to know what gang stalking is. They've been asked to do these assignments for whatever reason. It might be a church group. It could be their employer. It could be a neighborhood watch group. It could be a family member. It could be a friend. It could just be some guy who just shows up out of nowhere with a few extra dollars for them and tells them to do something like this. A lot of these people really have no idea what they're being asked to do or what gang stalking is. This is new to them. But nevertheless, they're still doing gang stalking assignments. And so this is an educational process, not just for me, but it's an educational process for the people that I come across. They're going to walk away knowing that I was there that day, and they're going to know they were involved with gang stalking, and they're going to know who I am and what gang stalking is. That's a big educational process. Whether they throw the flyer away and walk away, whether they go home and research it, something still was learned that day. Notice that red car that drives by. You'll see that with people who go through gang stalking a lot. Red, black, red, black, red, black. That's a common theme across the planet of people going through gang stalking. For somebody who's not educated on the subject of gang stalking, they're not going to recognize this stuff. They're just going to see cars going by. But the more familiar they become with the themes of gang stalking, color coding, then they'll begin to pick up and recognize when an individual is getting group stalked. They'll even somebody who's not going through gang stalking I'm speaking of, they'll know what questions to ask their children. They'll know what questions to ask their friends. They'll know what questions to ask the people around them to determine, is this person actually being group stalked? Brightening. That van that drove by was just doing a tactic known as brightening. They turned their brights on, or their headlights on, in broad daylight, fog lights. This can be done on mopeds, old cars. They get some cars from the 1950s to do it. New cars, a lot of lights on new cars come on automatically. But we're talking about brights, parking lights, lights that shouldn't be coming on automatically. And this is full blast every single day. Okay, I just want to pause it right here and show that even a lot of these buses, they will have their headlights on. In some places, this is natural. Sometimes buses naturally have their headlights on for various reasons. With me, it's going to be every single bus I come across. And that's a factor of the sensitization process. When you're going through gang stalking and you constantly see cars following their headlights, the cars who aren't doing it for an assignment are going to appear to you to be doing it as an assignment. That's the psychological factor of gang stalking. They're hoping, the people behind the harassment campaigns, they're hoping that they will be able to get you to train. They want to use your own power to train your own mind to associate everything in the world with you being gang stalked. So they want to convince you that everybody is there to gang stalk you 24/7. And so that's why I target individuals who go through gang stalking. That's why it's so severe. Is because you're talking about individuals who somebody is trying to shape their consciousness into perceiving the outside world as a threat. Yes, they're being stalked 24/7 by multiple people every single day. Fact. Yes, their food is being drugged. Fact. Yes, they're having electronic weapons used against them. Fact. But there's an overall view to try to mold these individuals of being fearful of their environment, even if it's not an immediate threat. So a lot of times I just wave at these individuals, like of the bus stop. I would have no problem just jumping in there and talking to the conductor and telling them what gang stalking was, telling them who I was, and just talking to the people in the bus, trying to get numbers and stuff like that. I mean, I rolled like that every single day, This is a very interesting thing here with the bus with the headlights on, because you got to recognize this is the environment of an individual who's going through gang stalking. It can be city buses. They can bring anything out to gang stalk an individual, and nobody on that bus might not even know what gang stalking is. But they've gotten an individual to do the assignment and turn the lights on. They've networked to them, maybe through a Facebook app. Their boss called them and told them. Somebody on the bus, they have all kinds of ways of getting close to people to get them to do that. But this is how the arrangement works. I'm being intercepted. Basically, I'm being intercepted by these assignments coming forth. And so you see the assignment, you see the brightening is still happening with these cars. That never ends. The brightening is still happening. And then as I approach them, you'll see the 2 red cars. Notice the 2 red cars right before. Okay. The truck and the regular car. Now, I didn't get on camera to see if they were using the brightening, but that was timed specifically. There's an overall group of individuals arranging this, and they were able to arrange through people to have these guys on the street wearing the. You're going to see as we approach the black and the red on the 2 gentlemen on the sidewalk right there. Then there'll be a 3rd gentleman later on wearing all black. But these 2 cars with the all red, that was set up in time perfectly for this event, for this sequence right here. See? 2 red cars and these individuals doing the gang stalking assignments. This is set in place and arranged perfectly. So just the constantness of this. This is nothing. This should be looked at as nothing really special. Somebody who's being gang stalked, they're constantly going through this, and this is actually light. If I was able to just stop and just start hanging out right here that day, there would have been more people, more cars, more things. It's light right here because I'm just passing through. The people who are arranging the gang stalking assignments, they know that I'm pretty much not going to hang out in this one spot. I'm just passing through. But if I was to stop there, within 5 minutes, there would be all kinds of more people doing gang stalking and more assignments. It's like a poltergeist effect. Okay, so you see, this is the color coding effect, and I put the prepaid credit cards up right here because that's often given to individuals to do the gang stalking assignments. There's a lot of groups out there that promote themselves as certain programs in the community, or it's easier, I guess, for some reason, the handlers or whatever, they don't like to use cash as much. They use prepaid credit cards, but they will use cash. they might have used cash for these individuals. I don't know what they were getting. They might have got a free phone. Sometimes they'll give people free cell phones. They'll do all sorts of different stuff. They might have had something different arranged with these gentlemen. I don't know. But I'm coming through. They're put out there on the street, and they're doing these color coding assignments, this gang stalking. And so I'm ready to go. I already see them. I know I'm going to embrace them. I know I'm going to talk to them. I know I'm going to explain to them what gang stalking is. I'm not going to leave that space until they have received my message. They're giving me a message. Just them being there doing the gang stalking assignment is giving me a message about my environment. So now they have to receive a message about their environment and who I am. And that's the connection that's made. Very positive too. So we met each other, we've seen each other. If I come across them again, they're going to remember me. They're going to know I gave them a flyer about gang stalking, yada, yada, yada. A lot of these guys intimately will know, they'll just right away know I'm telling the truth. As soon as I say gang stalking and I show them the flyer and stuff, a lot of times it'll just kick in right there. And they'll automatically know, regardless of who I am, they'll know what I'm saying is real. And they'll know they're out there doing the assignments. Oftentimes I'll tell them, you can be gang stalked. They will gang stalk the people who they get to do the assignments. And when I say that, a lot of times there'll be a spooked look in their eye. You know, like, really? This can happen to me? Even me? And so it's a cool situation. But I've talked to so many numbers of people like this. Not just in Michigan, this all over the country. I've been getting gang stalked and followed and speaking to people. It's been a very educational experience dealing with the public in this way. And so if you notice by this gentleman's body language, the gentleman that was just in the camera, you can tell they weren't really there to be doing this duty of picking up the trash. They knew I was coming. They knew they were supposed to be there for me. I'm not sure what they were told, yada, yada, yada. But I sit there and I speak to them. And they're being watched. While they're sitting there talking to me, somebody else is watching them to see what's going on with the interaction, watching the gang stalking that's going on. See, I gave him a flyer. I was more talking to the other gentleman. I gave him a flyer. We embraced. We shook hands. And then I moved on. This next man was assigned to wear all black and walk in front of me. I did not pay him much attention, but I doubt he was familiar with gang stalking. A small group of gentlemen were selected previously before my arrival just for this little role. If I spent more time in the area around them, they would be selected to do more assignments, building their familiarity with gang stalking. So if I kept coming back to this same spot, or I hung out there more, or I went to an area where those two gentlemen were at, they would get asked to do more assignments. They would become more familiar with me. They would become more familiar with perhaps my YouTube videos that I was doing at the time on gang stalking. They would be asked to do more tactics. They would receive more benefits. And so that's how gang stalking is. Where I go, the gang stalking goes. So if people did not know what gang stalking was, or they had never done an assignment before in their life, and I show up there, they're going to start getting familiar with it. It's the people doing the assignments, they're really irrelevant. They're just being used. I'm not speaking primarily about those two gentlemen right there, but overall, the people doing the assignments, they're just being used. Their importance is very irrelevant. Anywhere I go, there's going to be people asked to do gang stalking. Anybody. So now you see how it works. Okay. We're talking about the gentleman. Now there's a gentleman walking ahead in front of them So the two gentlemen were wearing black, red, the color coding. Now they got a gentleman wearing all black in the front. Going back to that news clip that happened, it was a news clip of a man named Lawrence, who was being gang stalked on the news, and you had the police officer saying gang stalking is real, it's a problem, it's been going on, now there's technology involved, it makes it easier for the gang stalkers to do their assignments, yada yada. In that film with Lawrence, you could see how one of his neighbors was wearing all black in the film. Same thing with that news clip of that family who had the honking campaign, where cars were driving past their house repeatedly honking. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go online and just type in gang stalking in the news, you'll come across these clips. But I've even attached them to some of my educational videos. But with the honking campaign, there was brief periods in those clips where you saw individuals wearing all black. I saw that at least once within the video. So black and red, wearing all black, that's a factor of gang stalking. So this individual up ahead, for whatever reason, he was somehow selected to be a part of this interaction. He might not even know the two gentlemen I just talked to and gave the flyer to, or he may very well know them. He may have been the one who got them to be there, you know. And so this is constantly an arrangement going on where I'm walking through here and there's several individuals put in place to do gang stalking. This is the group stalking dynamic. They don't really know me that well. This is the first time they've ever seen me. But there are individuals who are more intimate, who definitely know who I am, who stalk me, you know, who were stalking me then every single day, repeatedly. So there's individuals that don't know me who are asked to do assignments. Then there's individuals who do know me and they know they're stalking me who do it. So there's two different things going on. See, brightening, see? The light was green. Oh, that was somebody I did know. That was somebody that I had known. The other person that walked up, they were doing some sort of assignment, but I ended up knowing them. And they didn't, if I remember correctly, they didn't want a flyer. But I still offered it to them. But the light was, I would have stayed there longer, but the light was green. So I wanted to get across and keep going. So now if I'm walking down the street and say a restaurant comes up and I get hungry and I want to go in the restaurant, there's a chance what you saw with the color coding and the brightening operates the same way at the restaurant. So there's a chance my food could be drugged if I get hungry and I want to stop and get something to eat. There's a chance if I walk over to somebody's house and hang out in there that it's possible one of their neighbors might somehow be contracting to use some sort of electronic weapon device against me. This is a common theme between people who are going through gang stalking. And remember, this is what you're seeing here is very light. If I just stopped right here on this corner, there would be city workers out there. There would be all kinds of people out there doing, putting more assignments into action, rethinking how they're gang stalking me. What individuals can they use to create more of a psychological distraction. Who do I know? If they can't get those individuals, can they find somebody that looks like them? When I was asleep that night, before I woke up and got out of bed, they already had all these gang stalking themes and people and things set in place. These are individuals who are constantly working on the group harassment. So this isn't just happening spontaneously. This is people who are already working on it. You can begin to see the anger. You can begin to see why an individual who goes through this type of thing, you can begin to see how an individual would act irrational and be angry. If somebody goes through something like this and they do not have a sense of anger, in a sense, then there's something wrong with them. Like the man Myron May, who took a gun and went to a college and started shooting people. I would never advise anybody to do anything like that, but considering the circumstances of what he was going through, that's not an irrational behavior. That was very rational. Human beings are animals. When you attack somebody constantly in several different ways, they're going to act out. When you put an animal in a corner, they're going to act out. So there's individuals out there who already may have issues in their mind. They already may be subjected to violence, something like that. So when they're repeatedly stalked in this fashion, it creates a hostile event. There's people walking the streets who are prone to violence. If they get gang stalked in this manner, and they don't know they're being gang stalked, and they don't have the proper education, they may go get a machine gun or something, go out and shoot 7 people, 10 people, 15 people. Gang stalking is very serious. There are people out there who if this gets to them and it happens to them, it can explode. Okay, so you see, this is the ending of the video. This is the ending of the review. There's going to be a van. See the brightening, black and red. See the 2 trucks right there? Same time, 2 trucks brightening. See that? Brightening. And so there's no individuals out walking the street. A lot of times that's what I look for is groups of people to see. So now, he's pulling up the red, white truck. He lives there. So he's pulling up exactly, let me pull that back. I like how I was able to get that. See? That man lives there. He was assigned to pull up right at the moment I walked in front of his house. Okay, so now going back, again, this film is to be used for educational purposes. This was very simple. I'm going to end up showing more examples, but this was something very simple and very easy to produce. A lot of the times you can't capture the real harassment of gang stalking. If an individual is within their home and they wake up and they go outside, as soon as they get outside, there's going to be things prearranged, stalking assignments for that individual. Much of this stuff is never captured on film. An individual who goes through gang stalking 24/7, they can never get it all on film. And visual is part of group stalking. So I'm seeing these individuals walking the streets. I'm seeing the cars with the brightening. I'm seeing the color coding. I'm feeling the drugs, if I'm being covertly drugged, the electronical harassment, the electronical weapons. But then there's an audio part to it, where assignments are set up purposely to do all sorts of things, like with the honking the horn campaign, playing loud music, slamming doors. This is all a part of a system of harassment designed to harass an individual 24/7. That's all it's there for, is to harass the individual. That's the only reason why these programs exist, is to harass the individual 24/7. That's all it's there for, and that's all it's worth. That's why, to me, education on gang stalking should be number one, because individuals who are getting harassed 24/7, these individuals are going to move on to violence. They're going to lash out, maybe killing people, end up on drugs. It's just not, it's a horrible system. A perpetuated destruction is what it is. And so, hopefully this film was helpful to anybody looking to educate themselves on this subject. Okay, again, my name is Jamil Rawls. I came out with The Only Person in the World to Beat Gang Stalking series back in the summer of 2016. I have been going through gang stalking the summer of 2015. I still go through gang stalking today. Okay, and so I still speak with other people who go through gang stalking on a constant basis. I still set up courses for people. I still do all that stuff. Nothing's changed.